time that we put this to bed. Macho Mage is the greatest, is the best. There is no getting around it, no moving through it. I am an immovable obstacle, an unstoppable force, an incredible tidal wave of Macho Mageness. Hello there everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to finally really try to wrap up the first edition Pathfinder Wizard Guide. I know it's more or less been done, but, thinking on it, I didn't really cover the more finer details of the strategies and tactics that you might want to take and make use of over the course of this build. And the last video, again, was fun and all, it was fine, but just a few more things to throw on there, and I thought about trying to put together a more comprehensive look at a late game or even mid-level mage build, but it's just been busy, and every time I tried tackling it, I just wasn't really quite feeling it. Not like how we did with the early level look and everything. But before we get into everything that we do have on offer for you today, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on just such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. And joining me now is my most adorable co-host, Finnegan, apprentice storyteller and uninitiated as yet to any circles of lore, nonetheless quite capable and has apparently been maxing out his charisma stat. So now let's actually start talking about the overall strategy that you're going to have with this build. Now, early levels, like with any wizard, any squishy caster, you're going to want to hang back and make use of your crossbow while the melee characters wade into the thick of things. Then you can go in as a second wave using a reach weapon or a two-handed weapon to take advantage of your high strength. That's if it's safe to do so, or if you don't have much in the way of choice. For example, if you were to get flanked, say, by goblins or kobolds at this level, creatures known for their clever little maneuvers, traps, and ambushes and the like, then you're probably going to want to do this just because, well, you don't have a whole lot of choice. It's do or die by this point. But then, with all that in mind, you are going to want to save your magic for trouble, like early level bosses, so the Goblin Chieftain, or if you come across an Ogre as an example, or if you need extra defense from things like Mage Armor. But by the time you get to level 5, you can and should pick up Haste. This is going to be a linchpin for any combat, and much less any combat that you are going to be wading into, because the fighter, the ranger, the barbarian, the paladin, any animal companions that might be present are going to want to make use of the action economy benefits that you get from this. An extra attack, extra movement. This is going to be massively useful. And don't forget, toppling spell and magic missile will be massive for you in combat. This is essentially trip attacks that you can distribute amongst multiple targets. And on top of that, you're dealing damage while it happens too. Or if you've got one single target that you really need to make sure is put down, then you hit that one target with multiple missiles, stacking on damage and increasing your odds of tripping them. But then, once you get to the mid-levels or even the high levels, spells like Form of the Dragon, Monstrous Physique, or Giant Form will be essential for you. These spells, when you transform into the various creatures that they have available to you, you can still cast spells and have access to those incredible abilities, like Regeneration, since trolls are giantkin. But spells like Stone Skin are still going to be essential to your survival, adding in extra hit points more or less. However, Mass Enlarge Person will also save your action economy for a 4th level spell slot, increasing your size, any animal companions, any of the other melee characters that might be part of your party will greatly benefit from just such a boost. And then the transformation spell. While, yes, Captain Crank is correct, it does pale before Form of the Dragon or any of the other options listed before, it's still a good spell, and it's ideal for clearing chaff when you want to save on magic. The biggest downside to it, and it's probably enough to actually realistically warrant downgrading it a step in its listed quality, is the fact that you are unable to cast spells while you're using it, but you do get access to proficiency with basically all melee and simple weapons, boosts to your fortitude saves, and boost to your hit points. It's all the way around not a bad spell, really. And for one single spell, you could transform yourself into just a lethal nightmare, especially with the strength that you have access to, if you have the power attack feat. All the way around there, this is going to be pretty solid. Just make sure you throw out all your different boosting spells before you get to using transformation. That way you and your allies are going to be maximizing its effectiveness. But if you're just clearing out regular chaff, this can be a great way for you to save up on a lot of other spell slots in the meantime. And don't forget making use of something like Quicken Spell with Magic Missile, or even with Haste if you have access to 7th level spells, which I believe around 13th, 15th level, you should have access to at least one 7th level spell slot. Using Quicken Spell on Haste is just a huge game changer. Just a swift action to throw this out and everybody's action economy is boosted, and at those levels it's staggering how much damage could really be dealt. And then of course there's plenty of other spells to think about in the meantime. Not just transformation or haste, but also things like Black Tentacles. It's just such a good battlefield control spell that you would not be wrong for including this on your spells known. And don't forget that as you advance in level, not only are you gaining access to 2 spells per level, but any scrolls that you come across, any spell books that you capture, you should be able to make ready use of. And not only all of that, from learning new spells from those various sources, the different kinds of magic and magic items you could potentially create, especially if you're doing Craft Wondrous item. Craft Wondrous item will absolutely do so much to save your party money, and with the trait that we took that takes 5% off on the cost, that's also going to add up to a significant amount of savings in the long term. So altogether, this build really gels together pretty nicely, but at the same time, I hope that you're able to see how you're able to kind of flex and play around with this build, because certainly there's plenty more spells or combinations that are just staggering, and this was a build done without the, not Cherry Blossom spell, that ridiculous feat that lets you add multiple meta magic feats. I am blanking on it right now. Apologies for that, but I believe you take my meaning nonetheless. So, but what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? What other strategies, tricks, or adjustments might you recommend overall? Certainly there's plenty there. There's just so much that you can do with wizards, and just even something as simple as picking what specialization you want to go with will radically alter how you approach things, as going with evocation, in particular the admixture school, makes your evocation spells so much more incredible, but you're also going to be disinclined from engaging in close combat like a transmutation wizard would. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. And also, thank you all so very much for your time. Thank you for being so understanding about me taking this extended break. It was worthwhile with everything going on. But again, thank you all so much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.